up, you're thirsty.
Whether the lines are starting to make sense or you're just following them blind, I'm glad you joined me for another episode of Coffee with Dubs.
You know, I think there's a very specific emotional shift that happens when a project stops feeling like an idea and starts feeling real.
And I hit that point with the mural this week because now I've got about a third of the inking done. The Sharpie lines are starting to spread across the whole thing, and suddenly, these rough sketches, they're not sketches anymore. They're loose structures. They're turning into intentional choices. The bushes have texture now. The flowers have definition. The scenes are starting to breathe a little more instead of just existing as lines waiting for permission to matter. And standing there, working on it, I realized something. Progress becomes easier to believe once you finally see evidence of it.
That sounds obvious, but emotionally, a lot of people struggle with that because growth is frustrating in the beginning stages, precisely because it's hard to measure what's happening while it's happening. You work, you try, you adjust, you show up, and for a while, it just feels like nothing's changing because results are too subtle to fully recognize yet.
But eventually the lines start connecting, and suddenly all the little invisible efforts begin turning into something visible enough for you to believe in. And that's not just the art either. It's life. It's healing, relationships, it's confidence. It's that personal growth we talk about and rebuilding yourself after difficult seasons.
Most transformations happen quietly for a long time before they become obvious publicly. And I think that's why people quit too early sometimes. Not because they're incapable, but because they lack the discipline and because they're standing too close to the process to recognize progress. Because when you're inside of the work every day, the changes feel microscopic.
Because if you step back and you realize, wow, this is actually becoming something. And really, I think adulthood is learning how to keep going during the phases where progress still feels invisible. Because not every important chapter of life comes with immediate rewards. Sometimes the payoff is delayed. Sometimes the understanding arrives later, and sometimes confidence shows up halfway through the process instead of at the beginning. That's definitely how the mural feels now. At first, it was intimidating. Then, it was uncertain and a lot messy. Now it's becoming intentional. Not perfect, intentional. And there's a huge difference between those two things because perfection is impossible. Intentionality? That's achievable.
And that's true emotionally too. You don't have to become flawless to become healthier. You don't have to become fearless to become stronger, and you don't have to have your entire future figured out just to create something meaningful in life. You just have to keep making deliberate choices, line by line like I have here. And maybe that's the reminder today.
A lot of the things you're building probably feel incomplete, maybe even frustrating. But incomplete doesn't mean insignificant. Sometimes progress hides inside repetition, consistency, inside the ordinary effort repeated long enough for the results to finally become visible. And maybe if you stay patient with yourself long enough, your lines will start meeting on their own too, and your life will start connecting as well. Not all at once, not perfectly, but enough for you to finally look at your life one day and realize this isn't just a sketch anymore. It's an entire vibe. And if you're feeling it, I'll see you tomorrow. Another episode of Coffee with Dubs.